From the surreal streets of New Jersey to the deep-fried nightmares of Pennsylvania, the bustling streets of New York, and even into space, today we're counting down the top 10 most popular Adult Swim shows that new audiences need to know about. Jesus Christ, I sound like a WatchMojo.com video. Don't worry, I'm not turning into a top 10 channel or anything crazy like that. I think that meta is probably more dead than my mother. Love and miss you every day, Mom. She would have totally approved of that joke, by the way, so don't worry. Recently, I realized that Adult Swim has gained a lot of traction. Not that the network was ever unpopular or anything, but in the last couple of years, it has really picked up steam. I mean, there are so many new viewers experiencing the network for the first time ever, thanks to the expansion of the block, as well as tons of mainstream successes. Just the other week, I guided new fans through some of the more underrated shows on the network, and today, I want to help those same fans dive into the obscure and crazy world of the bigger shows on the network. If you're a new fan of Adult Swim or maybe a new fan of my YouTube channel, then buckle the fuck up, because this video is for you. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll feel inspired enough to go out and explore some of these amazing shows. But with all that said, drop a like on the video. Maybe we could shoot for 1 like. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. We're kicking things off with probably the most iconic series from Adult Swim, and the series that I constantly make videos about, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Created by Dave Willis and Matt Malero, this series follows 3 anthropomorphic food creatures, Master Shake, Frylock, and Meatwad, and their human neighbor, Carl, as they, live. As they live in the beautiful, wonderful, New Jersey. The show operates on loose continuity, meaning that events like character death in one episode pretty much reset in the next. In this particular series, anything could really happen, and there are no real consequences. It's the perfect series to throw on when you just want to relax and laugh your heart out. Honestly, and this is just me being biased, Aqua Teen is my favorite Adult Swim series. It's always my go-to when recommending new shows to people who are looking for something easy to watch, full of absurd and crude humor, without the need to dive deep into complex storylines. So if you're into that kind of humor, this series is definitely worth your time. There are currently 12 seasons and 2 movies, so you better get to work. Metalocalypse. Next up, we have the brutal and heavy Metalocalypse, created by Brendan Small and Tommy Blacha. This amazing series follows Nathan Explosion, Squizgar Squigelf, Pickles, Toki Wartooth, and William Murderface, otherwise known as Death Clock. They're an extremely successful metal band with major influence on the world economy. Imagine the Beatles or Taylor Swift, but darker, heavier, and also extremely dangerous. But these characters are more than just man-children making heavy music about coffee and deadly gardeners, which are real songs they have. They each play a very crucial role in a prophecy involving the end of the world, centered around a doomstar and a deity named Salacia. There's so much more to the storyline, but I don't want to spoil too much here. Like I said, the point of this video is to introduce you new fans to the bigger shows, the classics, and entice you to check them out as well. So I'm kind of giving like basic Spark Notes summaries of these shows. But trust me, Metalocalypse is definitely one to check out. It's pretty extensive and definitely worth your time. The series balances its dark and deep storyline with hilarious comedy, making it a must-watch, especially if you enjoy intricate narratives, if you desperately need a laugh after a rough day at the office or whatever, or if you just love metal music. And speaking of metal, Death Clock isn't just a fictional band in a TV show. They're very real, and they've released multiple albums, known as Death Albums, which you should just totally check out too, because they're brutal. The Venture Bros. The Venture Bros, created by Doc Hammer and Jackson Public, follow the chaotic lives and insane adventures of the Venture family. The family includes Dr. Thaddeus Rusty Venture, his twin sons Hank and Dean, their bodyguard Brock Sampson, their robot helper, and their reformed villain turned security guard Sergeant Hatred. The series also features their arch nemesis, the Monarch, along with his right-hand man 21 and his wife Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. Beyond the main cast, there are some guilds of villains, government agencies, and tons of other personalities. I mean, would you like me to just continue listing off the characters featured in this series? Because there are a lot. Like, a lot of characters. It's quite overwhelming how many characters exist within this whole universe. What began as a Johnny Quest-esque parody has evolved into an over-the-top Marvel-esque comedy adventure with, like I said, dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of characters, a plethora of pop culture references, and deep intertwining storylines. The series also frequently explores many themes of life, with the biggest one being failure and how it could be a beautiful aspect of existence. It's honestly quite challenging to encapsulate everything the series is in just a few words, but I could confidently say that The Venture Bros is one of the greatest adult animated shows in not just the history of Adult Swim, but just in general. It's a brilliant piece of media that deserves far more love and praise. So if you're someone looking for a show with a more complex plot and characters you'll genuinely care about, definitely check out The Venture Bros. The first 3 seasons, believe it or not, just came to Netflix, if you want to start there. Alternatively, the complete box set with all 7 seasons is available, and a movie was just released a year ago as well. By the way, for any Venture Bros fans watching my channel, there will be a new iceberg for the Venture Bros later this month, if not towards the beginning of October. For those of you who have been wondering where the original one went, I've explained this before on Twitter, but I'll explain it here as well. It got hit with a bunch of copyright claims after I released it, so I had to take it down. And I'm only now just getting to fixing it up. So like almost a year later, I really gotta like stop procrastinating. But anyways, I also realized shortly after I uploaded the original version, I could have totally made it a lot shorter and way more digestible, if that makes sense. Anyways, the new version will be out soon, and it'll be way more streamlined and focused, so look forward to that. Moral Oral. Next up, we have the only series on the network that was canceled for, and I quote, being too dark and depressing. Moral Oral. Created by Dino Stamatopoulos, this stop-motion series follows Oral Puppington, a naive Protestant who is very committed to the Lord, strictly following the faith's teachings. He navigates a life alongside his dysfunctional family and a slew of other interesting characters, each with their own deep backstories. The series takes place in the fictional town of Moralton, State Soda, located in the Bible Belt. What started as a satirical take on religious fundamentalism gradually morphed into this deep psychological drama, tackling some extremely dark themes. It's definitely not a lighthearted series. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, it was canceled because of just how dark it got. I don't normally recommend this series to a lot of people, but if you're someone who enjoys dark humor and can stomach serious subjects, Moral Oral might be right up your alley. Smiling Friends. Smiling Friends, created by Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack, follows Charlie, Pim, Alan, Glep, and Mr. Boss, collectively known as the Smiling Friends, which is an organization dedicated to spreading happiness and positivity to clients who are feeling down or are facing some truly bizarre problems. The series is pretty fast-paced, with a mix of clever, dark, and over-the-top humor. It also features a blend of animation styles, including traditional, rotoscoping, and CGI, just to list a few. And the show also heavily incorporates internet culture, featuring several prominent figures from YouTube and Newgrounds. It's hard to believe anyone hasn't heard of this series by now, especially with how popular it is. Smiling Friends is experiencing a surge in popularity quite similar to what Rick and Morty saw when it first blew up, at least in my opinion, and it's pretty incredible to see. I just hope we don't have another Szechuan incident. However, if you're one of the few who hasn't seen Smiling Friends yet and just needs a good laugh, I would highly recommend giving the show a try. Trust me, you won't regret it. Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is another hugely popular series on Adult Swim that, like Smiling Friends, most of you have probably seen by now, but for the 1 or 2 of you who haven't, it basically follows a scientist named Rick Sanchez and his grandson Morty as they travel through different universes, get into insane shenanigans, and deal with their dysfunctional family. But beneath all that craziness is a pretty interesting storyline about revenge, but I'll leave you to discover that. It's a very well animated series with a mixture of dark comedy, wholesome moments, and absolutely disgusting, vile, and absurd moments that should be illegal, which they are kind of illegal in the real world. If you know, you know. God, I hate that. The show spans 7 seasons, with the first being perfect, season 4 and season 6 being about equal, season 7 being slightly better, and season 5 being a complete nightmare that should be illegal. Man, I'm gonna vomit. That's just how I see it, though. Really, you should never base your opinions solely on others, so give the series a try if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments below which seasons you enjoy the most, and also why season 5 is your least favorite. I'm slightly kidding, by the way. Season 5 does have its moments, but I'll never get over that baby. But all jokes aside, Rick and Morty is a great series, and I think many of you who haven't seen it will definitely enjoy it. The Boondocks. You know what's funny? I don't think I've talked about The Boondocks much on this channel, which is surprising because it's one of my favorite shows from the block, and definitely a series that I believe many new viewers should totally check out. What began as just a comic strip evolved into one of the best television series on Adult Swim, blending humor and social commentary in a way that few other series do. It follows brothers Huey, the self-aware, politically motivated voice of reason, and Riley, the wild and hilarious troublemaker heavily influenced by rap culture, as they move move into the suburbs with their grandfather. Besides the show's sharp satire on race, culture, politics, and controversial subjects, it also features a very beautiful art style that's heavily inspired by anime, with series creator Aaron Magruder being a massive fan of anime and manga, citing shows like Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo as his inspiration for many of the fight scenes that take place. Now, the Boondocks has faced its fair share of controversies, but honestly, what show on Adult Swim hasn't? The series ran for 4 seasons, with season 4 not being as well received as the first 3, but despite that, the Boondocks remains an exceptional show. From my perspective, the first 3 seasons are super entertaining and hilarious, and while it might be an unpopular opinion, I actually do think season 4 has its moments. It's not perfect by any means, but I don't think it should totally be ignored, but that's just me. What kind of breaks my heart is that this series was about to come back. A reboot was announced years ago, but it ended up getting canned due to a couple of different reasons. One of them, I think, involved the death of John Witherspoon, and there were reports from Gary Anthony Williams about the series allegedly taking too long to make, so they ended up pulling the plug. Nevertheless, The Boondocks is a fantastic series, and anyone looking to dive into some older Adult Swim shows should definitely give it a shot. 12 Ounce Mouse. 12 Ounce Mouse, created by Matt Malero, is a fever dream to say the least. The show is most known for its surreal, crude animation, which might lead viewers to think, wow, did my toddler make this? But underneath that chaotic surface lies a deep psychological thriller packed with twists and turns. The story follows Fitz, a mouse who initially seems like a drunken lunatic doing odd jobs around a poorly drawn town called Cardboard City. However, over the course of 3 seasons and a special, it becomes abundantly clear that Fitz, along with a host of other bizarre-looking characters, were part of something way bigger. As Fitz begins to piece together his past, we see a much larger operation unfold. And trust me, it is insane. Take my word for it. Give it a fair chance, and once you watch a good chunk of episodes in one sitting, you'll see just how deep this iceberg goes. And maybe if more of you fall in love with it, we can start pushing Adult Swim to order more episodes. Because, well, spoiler alert, the series just kinda ends on a cliffhanger. Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Next up, we have what's probably my favorite live action series from the network. Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Running for 4 seasons, the series, created by Casper Kelly and Dave Willis, follows this idiotic demon named Gary, who's eager to climb the corporate ladder of hell. Alongside Gary is a cast of characters like Claude, who's more respected and often outshines Gary in the office, Satan, the boss of the entire operation, who, without giving away too much details, isn't exactly who he appears to be. There's also Luca, Benji, and a whole slew of other crazy characters that all reside in a workplace environment down in hell. And it's just one of the most hilarious and surreal shows on the network. Typically, Adult Swim's live action sitcoms can be a hit or a miss, but Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell is a home run in my book. It's kind of like The Office, but with demons and fire and hell and misery and no Michael Scott. Each episode is roughly 11 minutes long, making it easy to digest and perfect for binge watching in like a week. The humor is top notch as well, pushing boundaries with its dark and twisted comedy. Plus, the whole aesthetic, makeup, and practical effects really make this series stand out. So if you're looking for a unique comedy series, definitely give Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell a try. It's got the ZeroOmens stamp of approval on it. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. To cap off this video, we've got to talk about the godfather of Adult Swim, Space Ghost Coast to Coast. This series was nothing short of revolutionary, as it basically laid the groundwork for Adult Swim's creation. By cleverly reusing old Hanna-Barbera assets, the once intergalactic crime fighter Space Ghost became one of the most iconic late-night talk show hosts of all time. Space Ghost, voiced by George Lowe, would interview various celebrities who often had no idea they were being interviewed by an animated superhero, and ask some of the most ridiculous questions imaginable, which would ultimately make for some pretty hilarious moments. The show also brought in other classic Space Ghost characters like Zorak and Moltar, voiced by the late C. Martin Croker and Andy Merrill. What started as a parody of late-night talk shows grew into a defining series for the network. It didn't just become a staple for Cartoon Network. As I said previously, it also paved the way for Adult Swim to thrive, directly inspiring spin-offs like C-Lab 2021, The Brack Show, Harvey Birdman Attorney at Law, and even helped to to inspire Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Space Ghost Coast to Coast is a timeless classic that any true Adult Swim fan has to watch. Honestly, it should be illegal to call yourself an Adult Swim fan without giving Space Ghost a chance. And if you don't like it, that's totally okay. In fact, that goes with the entire list that we talked about today. Give all of these shows a fair chance. And if you like some of them, then great. If you like all of them, fantastic. If you don't like a single one, that's totally okay. Well, there you have it. 10 of the most popular shows from Adult Swim's extensive catalog that I believe any new fan of the network should check out. For the record, this is basically my top 10 Adult Swim shows list. Not in any particular order, but these are my favorites. So for those of you who have already seen these shows as well, are they your favorites too? Or do you have a different top 10 list? Let me know in the comments below. And for any new fans looking to give these shows a try, I want you to come back to this video later down the road. Could be a week from now, could be a month from now, a year, and just tell me in the comments which ones you liked and disliked. Anyways, if you went on to enjoy this video, drop a like. Maybe we could hit 1 like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video. Follow me on all of my social links, and join my Discord server. The links are in the bio below. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and remember that your stove is on. Go turn it off.